I think you need to come to me. There we are. Oh, and my sunglasses still look dark. I look kind of, I don't know, suspicious. They'll change back in a second. How's everybody doing today? Okay, more or less all right? Jasmine? Okay, all right. The semester's just rolling right along, isn't it? Next thing you know, it'll be Christmas. But I already had a student in my office crying. So, as far as I'm concerned, that means the end of the semester is here. Because I always say it's never the end of the semester until somebody's crying in my office. I've had two, actually, so that really confirms it. But nobody in here, which is good. Not yet. Everybody in here is keeping up. Those of you who are here today are keeping up. Today, what we're going to get started on is our next and almost final speech, which is celebrating an inspiring person in your life. And I started to talk about this on Monday as a special occasion speech. So I want to flip back to that page real quickly. Let's go with, that's 346 to 349. Special occasions. Commemorative speeches. And what I was mentioning is that most likely at some point in your life, you're going to have to talk about somebody that's important to you. It might be a situation where, as I mentioned on Monday, you might be eulogizing them, meaning at a funeral, and you're talking about what a great person they were and how important they were to you. In another situation, you might be asked to introduce someone at a function, and that person has significance to you. In other cases, you might have an opportunity to celebrate someone in a public speaking environment. So this gives you an opportunity to practice that. Also to celebrate somebody in your life. People typically like to talk about the people that are important to them. And the way it's set up is it'll be right before Thanksgiving, so everything should be uploaded, so when you get to your Thanksgiving dinner, you can show yourself giving a talk about your grandma or whoever. So that's what we're going to work on today and get started on this. With a commemorative speech or a speech about someone, you want to stir some emotions, stir some feelings. Talk about why this person is important to you in a very dramatic way. How did they impact you? And I was giving a couple of examples from my life on Monday. And it's these details that really bring a person out and really make them seem significant, not only to you, but ultimately as an example to the rest of us. At the end, you encourage the audience to reflect on the inspiring people in their own lives. Or use the example of this person to encourage people. Remember we talked early on about the 3 emotional appeals that we have to an audience when we're speaking. Ethos, logos, and pathos. Ethos, straight up ethics. You just try and convince someone based on their ethical understanding of life why they should think a certain way. Or logos, which is logic. If A equals B and B equals C and C equals D, then all of that added up should equal E without any argument. But the other one is pathos. And that's this idea of using emotion to get your points across and to convince people of whatever it is that you want to convince them of. And one of the ways you can do that is by bringing out a significant story. Now, I was joking a little bit earlier that the semester's never over until somebody cries in my office. Well, we've already had that. But typically in this talk, people will get a little bit emotional, at least one person. Because if you're talking about somebody who's really important to you, you can get a little bit emotional about that. So what do you do when you get emotional? You feel like you're going to cry. How do you work with that? There's a couple different theories about it. One is, go ahead, let some tears roll, because that conveys how important this person is to you. Another is to take a deep breath, look at the back of the room, look at a space where you're not really seeing anything, and let yourself calm down. Because maybe you don't want to cry in front of everybody, or you don't want tears to come rolling down. Either one of those is okay, because the audience will understand that you're having an emotional moment. You're trying to get a grip. You're trying to pull it all together. In Western society, we tend to think of the whole idea of boys don't cry, right? This whole masculine thing of like, you can't let it out. You got to be a man. Whereas women, the famous saying goes, understand what a good cry is all about. And what does that really mean? The good cry is you let those tears out, because if you don't, they're just going to make your face all puffy and stress you out. By letting those tears go, cleanse your tear ducts out. It's like emotional sweating, basically. So with regard to guys, since there's only a couple in here, or maybe a few watching on the class on TV, it's okay to be a little bit emotional. In different communities, it's actually encouraged to let that emotion out. But if you don't feel comfortable with it, that's fine too. You have to maintain your manly demeanor. That's all right too. And just because you cry doesn't mean you're acting feminine in any way. But I wanted to bring that up because this particular speech will get you thinking about what is really important to you and who is really important to you. You want to be able to put your language and thoughts into the appropriateness of the moment. And I think everyone has been pretty good in here about maintaining a good demeanor. And what I've talked about all semester long is trying to get slang out of your formal speeches, trying to clean them up so you appeal to everyone. Your personal speaking style is a little more dynamic than when you started. And I was watching the speeches, I like to watch the recordings, and how much you've all grown this semester. From where you were, if you were to go back and watch the first time you ever got up here, not even your first speech, but just your introductory thing, and then watch where you were in the persuasive speeches, everyone has progressed a lot. And so that's gratifying for me as a teacher. So you want to avoid cliches, falling back on real easy things to say, like, oh, this person just means the world to me. We don't want that. We want you to show us by your speaking and your stories why this person means the world to you. There's a famous phrase in writing that says, show, don't tell. Don't tell me something, show me, because that will make the impression that much stronger. And you probably have heard the phrase, words are stronger than actions, or words are more understandable. How'd that go? Actions are more important than words, something like that. A person can talk to you all day long about what they're going to do, but if they never do it, it's just empty words. Whereas if a person doesn't speak very much, but they do stuff, and you see them by their actions. So you want to get some honest emotion out there, some significant meaning, and think about how you can best represent them. I would also like you to provide an image of them. And what most people do is put their cell phones, like I did on Monday with my mom, and put the picture here. That's going to be okay in this situation. However, if you have a printed out picture and you can use that, it'll look a little better. Your phone won't go off after 30 seconds or whatever, and the technical director can flip back and forth between the picture of the person and here. In the past, I've also tried to build PowerPoints with classes. It's always a challenge because people always forget or they don't do it. Last day, can you put this in? And we're trying to make it happen, and so we're spending class time trying to get the PowerPoint together. And so I've just sort of axed that for this class. Bring your own image of some type or another. Jasmine, if you would, I'm going to ask you to pass these out for me. This is a rough outline for you, and we're going to go through it. And this is your last, quote, formal speech. We will have your final exam speech, which is going to be an extemporaneous speech or improvisational speech, where you're going to be given a topic and you're just going to have to go and do the best you can with it. That'll be your final. Awesome. Thank you very much. Okay, so I'm going to put it on the screen here and we can all take a look at it together. You have your copies, but those people who aren't here at home can see what we're talking about. So what we're going to do is the same as with any other speech that we've done, attention getter. So something that would be unique about this person or that would get their attention or get our attention as we're listening to you. So has any famous person ever slipped in your house or on your floor or anywhere? Nobody's saying yes. I've had that experience where a famous person had to sleep on my floor because they had no other place to sleep. Does that seem slightly interesting? Yeah, slightly. So I've got your attention. Of course, the topic is pretty standard. You don't have to say your name. We all know who you are. But today I'm going to tell you about a very important person that I've run into in my life. And here's how they impacted me. So, as with all of our other speeches, you're going to preview your main points. I want to tell you about the challenges this person had, how they overcame them, and what they went on to do with their life. And that gives you an organization. And you don't have to use this exact outline, but it is going to give you a rough idea for how you can do this. Why this person's inspiring, how you met them, what qualities do they have that make them inspiring, what impact have they had on your life. Set it up that way. Subsequent to that, we're going to find out who this person is. We want to know where they came from, perhaps where they were born, something about their childhood that informed who they are, of course, what their relationship is. And we get all kinds of people that are spoken about in this particular assignment. Moms, dads, brothers, sisters, boyfriends, girlfriends, grandmas, grandpas, employers, teachers, coaches. It could be anybody that has made an impact on your life. And you want to explain why they're significant. What have they done with their life? And I like the idea of the initial impression, because at first, if it's your mom, you've known her your whole life. So you don't really have an initial impression of your mom. She was always there. But maybe you met somebody that on first meeting, you didn't think that this was a person that you would be able to communicate with or have any kind of relationship or friendship with or any kind of dialogue with. And yet after you talk to them for a little while, you realize that this person is somebody that I really like and would enjoy spending some more time with and talking with some more. So, how'd you meet this person? What experiences can you remember about them that really fills this person out? And what are their qualities? Honest, determined, focused, disciplined. They have a high attention to detail. I say detail, I want to make sure, detail is a verb, detail is a noun. So when we're looking at the details of something, we're looking at the noun of something. If we're detailing a car and pinstriping it, we're using it as a verb. Most people don't get those right. And nobody will ever say anything to you except me about that, most likely. So, what are these personal qualities that they have? And you want to provide some examples. It's just like the persuasive essay where you have to have a fact to back up one of your points of view. And you look at how they've impacted you and the people around them. Just get a couple more items here. So you'd share a personal anecdote, as I mentioned. Discuss any positive changes or growth that you attribute to their influence. How they may have inspired you to become a better person. Then, like any other speech, you summarize what you've already said. Then you encourage the audience. So think about the important people in your life and what a difference they're making to you. Or draw inspiration from this person's story. And one thing I skipped over when I was putting this together, challenges they overcame. That typically is an inspirational anecdote. So if someone has a particular challenge and then they fight their way through it, then that should be inspiring to you and inspiring to us. They did it, we can do it too. There's lots of harsh moments in life. Invariably and inevitably, bad things happen that we perceive as bad. In reality, it's what happened. So we have to accept it one way or the other. So how does that person deal with it? We all have a story when something didn't go right in our lives. So how do we get past that? Remembering there's so many millions of people in the world and in the country that humans live similar lives. Some may have more money than others, some may be one religion instead of this, one person might be a political party and the other person is some other political party, one person's really into health, one person doesn't care about health. Everybody's on different sides of the world with regard to their opinions about things, but we all have similar experience of just daily life. We all get up, more or less get together, and then go on about our day. And then throughout that day, we're going to run into things that are going to be challenging for us. So end with a memorable closing statement that leaves a lasting impression on the audience. Something maybe this person said, or perhaps something that they did that you can make a statement about. I stole a statement from Kelsey the other day, who in her speech said, you make the statement for me, so I'm not just re-summarizing it. The little steps to big steps statement. What did you say?
It was little changes can make a huge difference.
Yeah, little changes can make a huge difference. I really like that line. Because little changes grow. It's like a seed that becomes a bigger thing. And so by listening to people, hearing what they say, that becomes part of what you say. And I can't remember who I said, it was a student. I think it was the crying student that I talked about. That's who it was. That came to my head. Hey, if you just do this and this and this, that's going to help you over here. So you never know when you're going to impact somebody. It's like this being on television. You never know who's out there. To be honest, you never really know who's watching, who just happens to be thumbing through their TV channels, and all of a sudden they stop on RSU TV. There's some person giving a speech about something, and they listen to it. You may impact them. And then, of course, you invite any questions or comments. Okay, you can get rid of that and come back to me. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of you today. So it's not going to take that long to get through everybody. But everybody's going to come up here and talk about a person. You don't have to show a picture today. When we talk about a person for about a minute. That's all you have to do. Introduce them, tell us why they're important to you, and maybe one little anecdote, and I'll look forward to telling you more next week. And I think we went back to front last time. We'll go front to back this time, which of course means I believe Marianne goes first. So we'll start at the top of the roster and go down. We'll do half on Monday and the other half on Wednesday. So David, you're always on the bubble. So you got to be here both classes because you never know. Now, if you're not, we go to the next person, and you go to the end, and then if we don't get through everybody, we have, when we come back from Thanksgiving, to make up anything. As you know, we only have 4 classes left after this one. We have next Monday and Wednesday, where we'll be doing these speeches, and then we'll all go away for Thanksgiving, and then we'll come back, we'll have 2 classes and the final. So the 2 classes are really to make up anything that we don't do next week, and then set us up for the final, make some final comments. Maybe practice. If we have enough time, we might practice the little impromptu speeches that we have to do for the final exam. I've already gone through that one time, but I'll say it one other time. Final exam, we have to be here. It's a requirement for the university. I don't have a written exam. You have to do a very short impromptu exam or impromptu speech from, there'll be some slips of paper up here, and you'll come up and pick one. And you can read it, and if you like it, you'll do that one. If you don't like it, you can put it down and pick another one, but you only get to do that once. And when you put the other one down, that's it. You don't get to go backwards. So it's one of those Price is Right type deals. Okay, so who knows who RuPaul Charles is? Anybody know who RuPaul is? Let me see if I can find a quick picture of Mr. Charles. Let's go. Before I put it on the screen, I want to find the right one. Yeah, we'll put this up. That'll be okay there. Okay, so let's go to put this computer screen on the screen, if you would. Oh, I need to move it over. There's RuPaul. So RuPaul is 64 years old, same age I am. He was born about 7 months before I was. About to be 65, so he's actually older. So RuPaul has gotten very famous as a television host, singer, producer, writer, actor, drag queen. And lives in San Diego, California now. Parents Ernestine and Irving Charles, RuPaul Charles. So come back to me now. Back in the 1980s, when I was in college, freshman, sophomore, somewhere in that range, I was living in Atlanta, Georgia, and I was a bouncer at a punk rock nightclub. So I ran the door, checked IDs, bounced people out who were acting inappropriately. Occasionally I worked the stage, but my primary goal or primary role was to watch the door and check IDs. Because I ran the door and you had to pay to get in, I knew all the musicians in Atlanta because they'd always come to the club and want to go to shows. And I'd often let them in for free because I knew them. So regular customers would show me their ID and pay, the woman in the window. And if you were a musician, though, we'd kind of let them slide. Okay, well, RuPaul was in a band, as many people were back in those days. And so when RuPaul would come in, hey, Ru, everybody knew him. Hey, how's it going? And I'd let him in. So as a result, I had an initial friendly relationship with him just from being a musician, because I knew he was in a band. And in addition to that, RuPaul's about 6'5"-ish. I'm 6'3". So he's like about right here. But put on some like 8 to 10 inch heels, and all of a sudden he's 7 feet tall. Not only that, in his drag queen status, he put big boofy hairdo on. He was like 7'4". He just was like this giant imposing figure. And that was his show. And so I got to be just friendly with him because he was there in the club, as a lot of the people were. And he was an inspirational figure then. We're at the same age. He's in a band. He's trying to do his thing. He would go around the city of Atlanta with a stencil, which if you don't know what a stencil is, it's a piece of paper or cardboard that has letters cut out. And then you can take that stencil and put it on something and spray paint it, and it'll leave those words there. And so RuPaul would go around downtown Atlanta, and he had a stencil that said, "RuPaul is red hot." And he would spray paint that on the sidewalks. And so occasionally be walking around downtown Atlanta, and you would see painted words that RuPaul is red hot. So that was his own version of self-promotion. In addition to that, I didn't really plan on telling this story today, but since so few of you are here, I'm kind of padding time a little bit, and then you'll all take over. he also had his own fanzine, which fanzines meant that you made a paper publication on your own, and you took it to a copy shop, copied it up, stapled it, and sold it, or gave it away, or whatever. That was your fanzine. And that was the internet of the mid-1980s, because there was an internet. And so he had his own fanzine, he spray painted his name and his slogan on the sidewalks, and he did these shows that were kind of outrageous. So one night we were closing up the club. My job closing the club was I had to go across to the parking lot and pick up all the trash, put it in a trash bag, bring it back, and then I could lock the doors of the building. So everything was closed. I came back, and RuPaul was sitting there on the railing by the club, and everybody calls him Ru back then. Ru, what are you doing? And he goes, well, I don't have any place to go tonight. I thought I had a ride, but nobody showed up, and I don't know what I'm going to do. So I said, well, you can just sleep on my couch if you want to. Which it was only half my couch since I had a companion at the time. And so, brought him home. Goes in the apartment there, and because he's 6'5", he was too tall for the couch. So he goes, I'm just gonna sleep on the floor. Okay, fine. At that time, RuPaul had only a tiny little mohawk on his head. It was like a little patch on the top of his head. And so while he was sleeping there, he's like, all you could see like sticking out of the top of the blanket was like half of his head and a little mohawk. So next morning, my companion who had to get up and go to work, she came in to me and said, who is that on the floor of the living room? Oh, that's my friend RuPaul. I wish you wouldn't bring people I don't know home just to sleep on our floor. I was like, okay, sorry about that, but he's cool, and I've known him for a while, and I'll be taking him back to town today, and everything will be fine. So she storms off, and then we finally, everybody wakes up. When you work in nightclubs and music and stuff, you're staying up late and sleeping late. So we get up and go back down into Atlanta and drop him off wherever, and that's pretty much it. And then we remained friends there in Atlanta. And then when I moved to New York to go to college there, he also moved to New York to pursue his show business goals. And so I'd see him in New York. And I was at the college radio station, WNYU. I went to NYU. That's where I got my bachelor's and master's, which is New York University. And so I'd see him around, and I invited him up to our radio station. It was his first ever radio interview, media appearance in New York. And it was good to see him again. I went to a couple shows, and then time went on, and I moved away from New York, and I moved to California for a few years before I moved back to Oklahoma. And when I came back to Oklahoma, I noticed that I went to Walmart, and I noticed in the music section that then they had cassette singles, just one song on a cassette. And RuPaul had a duet with Elton John. And I was like, RuPaul's gonna be all right. Everything is okay for him. And so I was happy about that. So RuPaul, here's a person who went from nothing, not having a place to sleep at night, sleeping on a friend's floor, but following his vision to the point where he's now an award-winning millionaire. And so it shows me, and should show all of us, that just because you're having a hard time in life when you're in your mid-20s or any other time, doesn't mean that you should stop pursuing your goals. Because here's a person who literally came from zero, and furthermore after that, not having a place to go on a particular night. So you never really know when you're helping somebody out, where they might be going or what might be happening, and you also know that you're going to have challenges in life. And the question is, can you fight through them so you can keep pursuing what you want to do? And I would say RuPaul has done it, and I in a lot of ways have done it, coming from a very poor background and getting to where I am today, which is good enough for me. So with that, I encourage you to think about the people in your life who've overcome hardships or difficulties and gotten to where they wanted to go, and as a result of that, inspired you. So that's all that speech has to be. So who's ready to go first? David, you look like you're ready.
Come on up here. Just let everybody just come up for a minute and roll through. Okay, let's hear it.
Hello.
Wait, just start over and don't say
Okay. Hello. I'm gonna be talking about my dad. He's 48, and his dad died at my age, and he went into military service, and he didn't take life seriously at all till I was born, and then that's inspiring to me because I fool around a lot, but like he showed me an example of how to be responsible, how to take stuff serious sometimes, and that you can still get your life together when you think you're too old for it. He's a great dad, great husband, and I just find him to be very inspiring. He works really hard, and yeah.
Okay, good. Let's hear it for him. I'm just trying to get you guys to stop saying We can just start at the top and go around. Anybody else want to volunteer? Or are we just gonna go in order? Jasmine? Not ready, Mary Ann? Jesse, you ready next?
Sure.
So for my inspirational speech, I'm going to talk about my mom because she came from Russia to America, and she is, I feel like it's very admirable, and she's a very independent gal, and I don't know, I just admire her a lot, and I'll probably just go into I'll have to talk to her about it too, but just her transition from moving from one country to another, and she had to move all of her, she did some of her college in Russia and then had to move it here, so yeah, and just the trials and tribulations with adapting to a new area as well, and then also just because whenever she moved from Russia to America, she was also having me and my brother, and in school she's getting her master's, so just things like that. That's what I'm gonna talk about.
Sounds interesting. Let's hear it. Okay, Jesse. You're up next.
Hello, sorry. For my inspirational speech, I will be talking about my buddy Nathan. I met him in high school, and he's been a really positive role model for me. He was an older brother I never really got to have. I was a really shy, shut-in kid in middle school, and he taught me to have some confidence to kind of stand up for myself a little bit. I actually keep a picture of him in my wallet.
All right, nice. All right, thanks, good. Look forward to hearing about it. Kelsey?
For my inspirational speech, I'm going to be talking about my grandma. She's gone through many struggles, losses, and challenges throughout her life, but each and every time she would overcome and persevere without ever isolating herself or straying away from her family. If anybody else was going through something, she was still there for them. She would just get back up, and that's something I really, really aspire to be able to do sometimes. She's my biggest role model, and she's who I hope to be when I grow up. She's very family oriented. I feel like she's the glue of our family. She's the heart and soul. Everything revolves around her, and it's just something I really look up to. So I'm going to talk more in detail about it next week, but
Good, look forward to hearing it. Hey, let's keep going down the road. Chia?
For my inspirational speech, it's gonna be about my best friend Linda. I met her in middle school, and now she's getting married. And I'm just gonna talk about how she is able to do like a lot of these, like she did a lot of things even though her parents told her not to. And from a very strict Hmong background, our families are always like, you gotta do this, you gotta do that in a certain way. But she most of the time didn't listen. So I really admire her for like going out of the way and just doing it. So I just really admire her because she just does it. So yeah,
What's your name again?
Linda.
Linda, okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Look forward to hearing about that. Grace? Time at the end of this one. Take some time, Grace. Two more.
I'm gonna talk about my mom and just like why she's important to me. And just one of the things I'll talk about is she moved 15 times before she graduated high school. So just kind of stuff like that and how she always holds me accountable to my actions and teaches me how to be a better person and stuff like that.
Okay.
So
What's her name?
Heather,
Heather?
yeah.
Okay, all right, let's hear it, Grace. Haley. Oh, Corey's coming up. I know she'll take some.
I'm also going to talk about my mom. She's the most patient and humble person I know, very hardworking. Never once heard her complain in her whole life. My parents divorced about 10 years ago. I'm sure that was hard for her. But when that happened, she never once complained. She actually stuck to the company that she works for, my parents' company, stuck to that and just kept working. They have remarried since then, but now starting next year, she'll be president of the company. So, very proud of her.
What's her name?
Amber.
Amber, okay. We're hearing about her. All right, let's hear it. Corey? Jasmine, you feel any better? Hold on. Well, I'm talking about both.
Okay.
We have like 10 minutes left.
I'm also going to be talking about my mom. I don't know how old she is. I think she's 45. I'll have to ask her. She actually dropped me off today. But my parents actually got divorced as well, so. But the one thing I think that's interesting with her is that she was born here, but my grandfather wasn't. He was from Greece, but he came down to America, eventually met my grandmother, had my mom and her siblings, and then how they lived in Chicago, I believe. But my grandfather ended up dying, and then their life just drastically changed, and they ended up moving down here to Oklahoma. And then my parents got married, ended up going through a divorce, but just everything, just your typical things that happen through a divorce, and being the children of those people and all that. But overall, she is the most supportive person in my life. How would I say it? So I'm like dramatic over a lot of things. I like cry a lot. And I don't cry a lot, but I do cry a lot. But she talks me out of like, you ever heard that, like, I don't know, that saying where it's like, don't ever let your mood dictate like something like that. I don't know. But you get the gist of it. But she always talks me out of, I end up not making decisions based on like what happens in the moment, but because of her and all that. But I can give you an example actually real quick since you want me to take up time. I work at a convenience store. I work about 40 hours a week, and I was getting overwhelmed with school work and just everything. I also intern at the district attorney's office here in Claremore. So just all of it's just been overwhelming, especially it being my last semester. But I went into work one weekend on a Sunday, and I ended up leaving probably about an hour after being there because I didn't really want to be there. So I ended up going home, and I ended up walking in, and she was like, well, why are you home? Like, didn't you just start work? I'm like, well, yeah, I didn't. I just told him I was sick. I really wasn't sick, but I just told him I was sick. But I ended up going in my room, and she was like, well, what's wrong?
And I was like, nothing, I don't want to talk about it. Well, I kind of like pushed her away and she's like, no, like, come on, we're gonna like go talk. And then I'm just like, no, like, stay away. So I ended up going in my room and I'm like crying and crying. And she's like, what's wrong? I was like, I'm overwhelmed. I don't know what to do. It's my last year. I don't have this lined up. I'm still behind on this, and this. I had thought about quitting my job. But if I quit my job, then I could lose my car. I'd lose pretty much everything I got because I got to work for all my stuff. So she pretty much talked to me, and especially in that moment, on what I, should do and everything, because she helps me a lot with, payments on making my payments on everything, because I live with my mother. So she really is supportive in a lot of things like that. But I think if I made a decision right then and there, I would have regretted it in the end if I didn't have her. But besides that, she, oh my God, I said, besides her being supportive, I actually got off of work at, I keep saying at 7 a.m. this morning, and I live about an hour away, so she actually drove me here, and I don't think.
You did the overnight last night?
Yes, I got off at 7, and I live about an hour away, so she drove me, and I don't think I have another person in my life that would do that for me. But she actually had one of your classes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a very long time ago. It was cinema. Mm-hmm. She's the one who actually, because I knew how to take speech because I put it off to my last year. I did that on purpose because I didn't want to do it. And she was the one who actually recommended you.
Oh, awesome. We'll tell her some things.
I will.
What's her name?
Her name's Vasiliki.
Say that again?
Vasiliki.
Vasiliki?
Yeah, but she goes by Vicky, but then it's like Billie Jean.
I got you.
But Vasiliki is a Greek name.
Yeah, it is.
So,
I like that.
but yeah, she.
Well, we look forward to hearing about her some more. Thanks for that. Jasmine? Tell us about a couple people. That's really interesting. What interesting folks you all are.
I guess I'll start with my pawpaw. He passed away in 2022. He was my best friend. He was the glue to our family. We didn't know that until he passed away. Yeah. The other one is my boyfriend. He's been there through everything.
What's his name?
Xavier.
Xavier?
Yeah.
What's his last name?
McKay. Yeah.
I know Xavier.
He goes by Z because it's a lot easier.
All right.
But,
And
yeah.
what about him makes you feel comfortable?
I don't want to get emotional.
But okay, you don't have to say any more. All right, well, think about that. And that's a good lesson for you. It's like, if you think it's gonna be really hard to talk about him, then switch to Pawpaw. Right? Maybe go that direction. Either one of them you want to try and get through your whole talk, though. I think either one of those will be good. What's your Pawpaw's name?
Jody.
Jody? All right. Well, we'll look forward to hearing about either one of those.
Okay.
Okay? All right, let's give her a hand. Yay. Okay. 5 minutes left. Or we can just
Riff on this for a little while. What's riff mean, Grace? Keep going, however you can, right? For a few more minutes. Let me mark down everybody who's here. I mark down everybody who does a practice session, your proposal. I like to keep track of everybody just to see if I get toward the end of the semester and it's like, oh, is there a, do they get a 6? Do they get a 7? Well, I'll look and see if you did all the assignments. So, thank you all for being here today. My friend RuPaul staring at me right there from my screen down here. That's a good story. Now, do you know who I'm talking about, RuPaul? You heard of him like somewhere, maybe a little bit? Okay. RuPaul's Drag Race. Yeah, RuPaul's Drag Race. Very famous. Won some Emmys for it. So, I read his book recently. He didn't mention me specifically, but he did say sleeping on people's floors, that he had to sleep on people's floors at one time in his life. So, I felt like I was kind of included, even if my name didn't make it. One thing I was reading today, I'll share this with you, is an article that was in the Washington Post. I think it's important for us all to read all the time. That's how you become better speakers. Your vocabulary widens. And this particular article is about ChatGPT and how people are using it. I thought of Jesse because of his generative AI talk. And I also thought of Jesse a couple times when there's all this stuff about data centers that's popping up now. And we're seeing a lot of them all over the state. The thing about Oklahoma is we have so much space here. The perception is that we have plenty of space for all these giant facilities. And those are the kinds of facilities that get AI going, especially generative AI. So I was interested in what this article had to say and how ChatGPT is getting used by more than 800 million people per week. I was on a Zoom call with a bunch of other highly educated people last week, and they were spending all this time trying to generate this particular set of language. And I was listening to them, and I thought, you know what? I just opened another window, ChatGPT, I was like, and I asked it real fast. The question, blammo. Then I just kind of waited for a pause because they couldn't agree. I said, well, how about we do something that we do here, which is blah, blah, and blah? Zoom call. That's great, let's use that. Okay, we might want to tweak the language a little bit. Okay, tweak away, because the basic nucleus was there, so I moved that conversation along faster than it would have otherwise by using that as my assistant. And that's what we want to think of it as an assistant, not overtaking your thinking. But there are opportunities for you to use it. I learned something else. I was watching an AI expert talk, and she was saying that one of the things that she trains corporate leaders, institutional leaders, government people, the first thing that she trains them how to do with AI or ChatGPT is how to get it to interview them. So if you have a problem you can't figure out, you ask ChatGPT, ask me 10 questions about this subject matter to help me figure out X. So then it's not coming up with just some generic answer that it draws from all this big database it has, but it's come up with 10 questions for you. And now, if you can answer each one of those questions, you're going to get closer to what you need and what you want. And if you don't get it in those 10, say, give me 10 more. So we were experimenting with this in my speech class, no, my composition class I'm teaching over in Pryor. And that's what we were doing. And one of the composition essays we have is Your Happy Place. I haven't done this as a speech before because we're teaching descriptive writing. So if you were to describe in detail your happy place, can you do that using really good verbs, lots of different adjectives, and make us feel like we can experience your happy place? Well, how do you describe your happy place? So we just went to ChatGPT, asked me 10 questions about my happy place that will give me a groundwork for writing a short essay about my happy place. All these questions got spit out that the students could then answer, and that gave them a place to begin because they have to generate 500 words. So that's one of the ways we're using it. All right, have a nice weekend, and we'll see you back here next Monday, and we'll start these speeches. So with that, I'll just wish you a good day. Make good decisions.